Hello, everybody. My name is Danny Richter. I'm the Vice President of Government Affairs here at Citizens Climate Lobby, and welcome to you all. Welcome to our December conference. So I'm going to be talking to you for about 15 minutes in preparation, especially for your state breakout sessions later this afternoon. What I'll be talking about, I'm going to review highlights from the two webinars I gave on November 12th and 19th, both of which are available on CCL Community. This will include a review of the current political context we find ourselves in, and how to navigate it during your lobby meetings next week, as well as a brief review of the primary and supporting asks and how to use them. I'll then close with 4 final thoughts to consider before those strategy sessions. So let's begin with that November 12th CCU. In that webinar, I gave an overview of where we were, that is before the election, where we are in the lame duck, and where we're going in the 117th Congress, because all are important for success in our lobby meetings. To summarize, where we were was before the election, and now we know that Biden took the presidency, Democrats took the House, but with a reduced majority, and Republicans are likely to keep the Senate with a reduced majority, but we actually won't know for sure until after a runoff election in Georgia on January 5th. However, if Democrats do upset both incumbents to win those seats, they will hold the chamber with the barest of majorities, requiring Vice President Harris to break the tie. Where we are now is the lame duck, and in the lame duck, we know that Congress is busy, Congress is distracted, and Congress is thinking ahead. They're always busy in the lame duck with committee assignments, determining what members are going to be focused on over the next 2 years. As a party, they're thinking about the next 2 years, including what their policy priorities are going to be. They're literally switching offices, picking up desks, moving them into hallways. They're deciding who their leadership is going to be in each of the parties. And then there's a lot of staff changes. A lot of really high quality staffers are leaving offices of members who are moving on to other things, and they're being snapped up by other offices. This time we have the additional uncertainty provided by those undecided elections. And unfortunately, we also have a continuing resolution that expires this week. So on Friday, Congress needs to figure out a resolution to that, or the government may go into shutdown again. And so every office is going to be doing that. That's going to be their priority. Maybe not the environment and energy staffer or the tax staffer who you're talking with, but just be aware that that's coming. The prescription for us to follow in all of this chaos is a simple, focused, and compelling message. Price carbon. It's popular. It's effective. It's quick. Do other things, but this needs to be the backbone of whatever you do on the climate. Looking forward to the next Congress, with those reduced majorities guaranteed, we're going to have a much more finely balanced Congress. Bipartisanship is just going to be necessary to get anything done. We also have the situation where our priority, climate, is aligned with the president's priorities, and that's a very special thing. Everyone will have to respond to that and the framing that the president uses. That's why we call the presidency the bully pulpit. We want to make the case that this solution, the Energy Innovation and Carbon Dividend Act, is the easy, good solution, and we need it to be durable. So for the next Congress, our prescription this time is to stack the deck. That's our goal. Congressman Deutsch wants 100 co-sponsors when he reintroduces in the new Congress, and we want to give him that. More co-sponsors makes the case that this is the easy, good solution that has the best shot of bipartisan support, expert support, is immune to Supreme Court, will cut emissions by the fastest, adding for other priorities. Moving on to the second CCO, here's where I focused on the primary ask, the carbon pricing is popular document, and the supporting asks. As I said, the main goal of the lobby day is to stack the deck in favor of the Energy Innovation and Carbon Dividend Act. In the House, that means we're asking for co-sponsorship. For those who are already co-sponsors, we're asking them to talk publicly about their co-sponsorship. In the Senate, that means talking to Senator Coons and getting a bipartisan bill introduced, having senators talk to Senator Coons. But being sensitive to the context we find ourselves in, I thought that it was important at this juncture to remind Congress that carbon pricing is popular beyond this organization. And this is the main thing that I want the offices you're meeting with to take home after your meeting. I think this message, carbon pricing is popular, more than anything else, is what is going to help us get to 100 co-sponsors. to get existing co-sponsors to pipe up and to help Senator Coons. So I asked you to send both the primary ask sheet and the companion Carbon Pricing is Popular document to the staffers you're going to be meeting with ahead of your meetings. Both of these documents highlight support for carbon pricing from 5 sectors of society that are important to Congress: experts, local leaders, other members of Congress, businesses, and faith groups or faith traditions. I also shared with you that I have a concern, and the concern I have is that we've been so clear about what we want and so disciplined about our message that lots of people in DC have the impression that we are inflexible. And if that perceived inflexibility leads to us not having a seat at the table discussing the contents of a climate package, that's not so helpful. So I wanted to signal some more openness in this document. I did that by putting the quote from the IPCC at the top of the one-page ask sheet. Put the experts first. In the second paragraph, we are very clear on our preference. It is the only bold sentence, and that preference is to support the Energy Innovation and Carbon Dividend Act. But we also call it a preference. Our bottom lines are, and you're welcome to repeat these, whatever carbon price is discussed, whatever is included into the climate package, it needs to take a huge chunk out of emissions, and it needs to be good for the bottom 40% of earners. Those are our 2 bottom lines. Along with the one-page ask sheet, we also have the Carbon Pricing is Popular sheet. A lot of these points that are in the sheet are about popularity are highlighted directly in the one-page ask sheet. And this sheet is really about providing a little bit more information about the 5 constituencies highlighted in the ask sheet. Again, those are experts, local leaders, other members of Congress, businesses, faith groups or traditions. Perhaps most importantly about this Carbon Pricing is Popular sheet is it looks pretty. I specialize in long blocks of text, but people actually don't spend as long looking at long unbroken blocks of text as perhaps I would like. And so really a big thanks to our marketing comms department for this Carbon Pricing is Popular document. It does look very pretty, and I hope that because it is so easy on the eyes, that the aides are going to be speaking with will spend more time looking at it and absorb some of those messages. So please, again, make sure that the group leader for your meetings has sent both the ask sheet and this one-page Carbon Pricing is Popular document in advance. I also want to talk briefly about the supporting ask this lobby day. They're also available on Community, but we are de-emphasizing them this time around. The reason for this is that if we think a climate package is coming, which we do, and if we think it's going to include a carbon fee or tax, that this will be determined early in the discussions, early in the new Congress. And so right now, as all of Congress is trying to figure out their policy priorities over the next 2 years, if we are not all making the primary ask, we risk missing the opportunity to make the case for this most popular and effective policy type to be in the final solution. And we just can't let that happen. So if you do make a supporting ask, please only do so after a good, robust discussion towards our primary goal of stacking the deck for a carbon price, which is popular with experts, local leaders, other members of Congress, businesses, and faith groups and faith traditions. If you do get to the point of making a secondary ask in your discussion, note as well that the only supporting ask bill that can still add co-sponsors in both the House and the Senate is the Growing Climate Solutions Act. Given how late it is in the session, this will be the last week for the House and the second to last for the Senate. For any other supporting ask bill, just ask that it be supported and prioritized as a bipartisan priority in the coming Congress. This focus on the primary ask is a sign of us being responsive to the environment we find ourselves in. Just as in June, being responsive to the environment meant placing a lot of emphasis on the supporting asks, here we have a different environment, and so we have a different focus. I also briefly pointed out in the second webinar, the June analysis is available. For veterans of our winter conferences, I pointed out that unlike previous years, this resource should be out of the spotlight this year, but it should still inform your meeting. In previous winter lobby days, the June analysis was the star of the show. This is what the meeting was about. This time around, I'd like you to treat the June analysis more like the production designer, or maybe the second violinist playing the musical score, or the editor of the movie that would be made about this lobby day. All of those positions are essential to a successful outcome, but you never really think about them as you're watching the movie. With that review, I just want to share 4 thoughts before you get into your strategy sessions. And the first thought is amazing job on getting endorsements and on getting existing endorsers to speak up again. This has been a focus of the organization for the past 6 months, and you have responded. Some of you noticed a discrepancy in the numbers between the primary ask document and the carbon pricing popular document in advance of this lobby day. This has now been corrected. So if you go to the website, you can download the corrected documents. But the reason for this is largely down to the fact that when I started the primary ask document and when the carbon pricing is popular document was written by our comms and marketing departments, you piled up so many more endorsements that it was out of date. So just yesterday, I got the note that we have now passed 2,000 prominent endorsements. And really, if this is the reason for the mistake that you guys are so active and so successful in getting these, that's a mistake that I'm actually pretty happy about making. So again, the updated documents are on CCL Community. You can download them now. The numbers match. If you haven't seen the short video of mayors reiterating their support for the Energy Innovation and Carbon Dividend Act, please do check it out. I heard a volunteer account of sharing this video with the city's Sustainability Advisory Board he'd been working on for 4 years. And after viewing this video, they immediately recommended the City Commission support the Energy Innovation and Carbon Dividend Act. I see this as a great example of the power of asking people already on our side to speak up about it. So let's keep it up. Second thought I want to share is how necessary it is to be bipartisan. This is something we've always believed, even when it's been especially difficult. This Congress, another divided Congress, even more closely divided than the last, means that this message, which we have never deserted, this message is one that everyone is going to have to play by if they want to truly honor the urgency of this issue. The best Congress to pass climate legislation in is always the Congress we have right now. Because we've been so consistent with this message of bipartisanship for so long, I just want you to bear in mind that we are uniquely well positioned relative to other organizations empowering volunteers to get to the Hill to make the most of this Congress. When people hear us say we value bipartisanship, they know we mean it. To truly honor the urgency of climate, we need to practice the radical CCL appreciation and respect, both with our elected representatives at the federal level and with our friends and neighbors at the local level. This Congress, this is the only way that anything is going to get done. Third thought, I want to share a couple of trends in our favor. The first is the EU border carbon adjustment. The European Union announced that they are going to be putting in place a border carbon adjustment on their existing carbon price. The EU market, single market, is the second largest economy in the world behind only the United States. Since the date for that to take effect is January 1st of 2023. That means that this coming Congress, the 117th, is the only Congress that can possibly level the playing field for American businesses who want to compete in the second largest market in the world. I think that's going to help us. Second thing I want to highlight is existing trends within the Republican Party. If you go back 5 years, when the Gibson resolution said that climate change is real, humans have an impact, and Congress should do something about it, was big news. And so big that it seemed impossible to a lot of people we're talking with. That was 5 years ago. Go to this year, the minority leader of the Republican caucus in the House said basically that Republicans need to figure out climate if Republicans want to win elections. That's Kevin McCarthy. That's a huge trend. And so we want to build on this existing trend and accelerate it. And the final thought is that this has been an exhausting year. At the start of this pandemic, I saw 2 possibilities for CCL staff and volunteers. One, our experience in grappling with the grief of climate would mean we deal with this crisis well, or 2, our experience in grappling with the grief of climate would mean that we're just that much closer to burnout. But I look at the thousands of people who are on this call, the response you've had to getting endorsers and making them talk about their support, to the incredible showing we had in June of getting 69 co-sponsors in 2 months on the bills we were asking support for. I have to conclude that CCL volunteers, the former, is more true than the latter. And when I wonder what could possibly be driving this, I gravitate to the fact that when people have stronger relationships and strong social support networks, they handle stress better. Because CCL emphasizes and invests in relationships so much, the grief we grapple with about the climate crisis empowers our emotional and situational intelligence in the current crisis instead of sinking us. However, we are not out of the woods on the virus yet. It's going to be a tough winter. So in this tough future that we're all facing together, please invite people to share in the sources of your strength. We're going to need more people with us this Congress to accomplish our goals. The most important step in getting people to join us is that first invitation. We have something truly valuable to offer, meaningful relationships and meaningful impacts. Let's be sure to extend the invitation in the coming months, and let's also be sure to work on ourselves and our groups to make sure that the environment we create in our groups, in our organization, is truly welcoming and inclusive of the full diversity of this country's body politic. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Citizens Climate Lobby's training program. You can tune into more episodes anywhere podcasts are available. Inspired by what you heard today? Join Citizens Climate Lobby to advocate for bipartisan climate solutions. Go to community.citizensclimate.org to find more trainings, resources, your local chapter, national action teams, discussion forums, and more. Be sure to like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter and Instagram @CitizensClimate. We also invite all of our listeners to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more inspiration. And together, we are creating the political will for a livable world.